Look, here's the deal. Elemental is great, but it's just okay by Pixar standards. Yes, Pixar. The studio once famous for never missing, and now famous for why they fell off videos. On its own, Elemental is a predictable but genuinely fun and emotional story about a second-generation immigrant feeling crushed by the burden of having to carry on her parents' legacy, kinda like how this film is being crushed by the weight of Pixar's. As unless it's perfect, people are gonna talk shit. This film barely had a teaser, and people were already trying to jump down its throat. But given the trailers, that's kinda fair, as Disney did this film so dirty. So we might as well clear the record, talk about why Elemental works, and how the internet cooked this film before it even had a chance to. Elemental is about a fire girl living in Element City, a place where all three elements used to live in harmony, till the fire immigrants arrived and everyone else decided to be haters. In the middle of all these strays is Ember. Her parents came here to start a new life, building a home and community from this city's scraps. And with her dad being one cough away from death, the pressure is now on Ember to be the good daughter and continue the family's dream of financial stability, or risk squandering all of it on the off chance that her passions are profitable. This is the real emotional core of the film. Yes, the romance takes up more time, but this is easily the best part of the film, as it perfectly gets you into the mindset of Ember, and why this isn't as simple as parental expectations. The movie does a great job at showing just how hard it was to build what little that they have, and how all of that weighs on Ember. This never feels like emotional manipulation, or her parents are just being dicks that she has to do this. It's way more real. The unspoken guilt of how selfish and small one's own desires look in the context of how much your parents have sacrificed and lost to get you here. That to not keep the family business going does feel like a personal betrayal. The film really does a good job of making it feel like there's no great option here, which will make the story just all the more powerful, as the struggle is just too real. Especially since the trailers fail to convey any of that, since they're all fucking terrible. Like, I do not know what happened during COVID, but ever since theaters opened up again, nearly every major animated movie has just had terrible trailers. There's exceptions, Spider-Verse, Puss in Boots, but pretty much everyone else has been a masterclass in giving me nothing, while spoiling everything. As rather than giving a personal pitch for why you should watch this movie, what we end up getting instead are trailers that feel like they're listing tropes that the audience might know, betraying the utter lack of confidence that the marketing team and higher-ups have in the actual story. Like, the worst example of this recently was Teenage Kraken, a movie that I am still convinced is going to be a banger. But the trailers are trying their hardest to make it look like a generic superhero film, because supers allegedly sell, so they focus on that rather than the actual heart of the story. This was a problem that Elemental was wrecked by, as from the teasers to the trailers, the only thing these pieces of shit are interested in selling you are the visuals, which are great, but it's the equivalent of them jangling keys in front of our eyes. They are desperately hoping that we'll pay attention and remember this, so that we'll be interested to check it out later. That didn't work, as these trailers are obsessed with Element City, or what it really should be called, Elemental Disneyland, the spin-off of Disney's last masterclass in world building, Zoo Disneyland. And don't get me wrong, visuals, great. All the concept artists and designers of this movie all deserve Oscars and better pay. But that doesn't change the fact that this is not 2008, and they are not Avatar. You can't sell a movie on just having a full fantasy world anymore. We're getting that shit on the reg right now, so the novelty is just kind of gone. Plus, with streaming, even if people are interested in the movie, if it doesn't have a hook, general audiences are just gonna skip it and wait for it to come out on streaming, which it feels like was what happened, as this movie had the worst opening weekend in Pixar's history, and they somehow did that with inflation. Truly, this film was failed by its trailers, as they wasted so much time on the look and novelty of the film that they didn't have enough time left to sell you on the actual plot, leading to the trailers making everything in the film feel like the most generic version of itself. It sells you on a basic girl torn between family and dream scenario with a manic pixie dream guy who helped her choose. This story is a simple meal well made. It doesn't have a bunch of twists and turns, and it doesn't need them, as it is powerful all on its own, as it makes you care. But none of that pathos comes through in the marketing. The trailers don't even tell you that this is an immigrant story. Like, I'm baffled they were somehow able to take an incredibly personal story about family and love and made it come off as impersonal as possible to appeal to all audiences. These trailers are meant for everybody, so they ended up appealing to nobody, as the vibes that these trailers give me, is that the marketing team was terrified that revealing the true context of the story, who this movie is about, would alienate the people who can't comprehend going to a movie that isn't explicitly about them. which is horse shit. But it is very Hollywood. So it should be no surprise that the internet clowned the hell out of this film's marketing, as there was just no strong reason to care. Like, some diehard fans were trying to shame people into checking this one out, saying, "We always complain about the lack of original films, yet we were ignoring and making fun of this new one." Which, true, but the whole film was made out to be cute, but it felt like it was made out of entirely recycled plots and characters, so could you really call it original? So it's no wonder people tuned out of this one, even though the actual film is really good. Like, the character designs, they look a little weird at first, but you get used to it really quickly. They're able to add little human mannerisms, and it doesn't look weird. Like, they made water sweat. That is impressive. Though, not gonna lie, the movie could have cut out the air and earth people, and they would have lost nothing. The world building for the city is actually really interesting, and how it just so clearly wasn't designed for fire people, with the city just being in no real rush to create new accommodations for its new residents. It's expecting them to just struggle and deal with it, visually conveying to us how not only the people, but the city itself is alienating Ember and the other fire people. Also, I feel like I've put off talking about this for no particular reason, but this movie is a rom-com, and it didn't make me cringe while watching. Which, yeah, that's good. Wade and Ember falling in love is pretty well done in my mind. Your mileage may vary on romance stories, but I'm a slut for them, and these two are next level wholesome, with Wade being the emotional dork everyone needs in their life. The scenes of them falling in love and going on dates, they're all good. And for as cringy as the premise is of a piece of fire falling in love with some water, the actual relationship is heartwarmingly sincere, as we watch them grow closer and get treated to some genuine visual wonder. The movie had me so ready for mediocrity, as it was clearly doing an opposites-attract thing in the most on-the-nose way possible. However, surprisingly, it ends up feeling very organic. It never comes off as feeling forced or being used for dumb conflict. These two quickly fall in love without them having to jump through too many obtuse hoops. The real drama in their relationship comes from their different life experience and priorities, with Wade's "you should be yourself" mentality surprisingly not being treated as the one easy way out that it's often depicted in media. Plus, the whole "they could kill each other if they touch" angle is treated less like a joke and more like an actual tragedy and hindrance to their situation, a la Rogue from X-Men, where they want to make this work, but the struggle of loving someone you can't touch is a serious dilemma, as not only are they from very different worlds, and that their family members are low-key racist too. No, that's a lot, but all this combined makes them doubt if it can actually work, giving us that little bit of suspense and intrigue on how this is going to all work out. As yeah, it's a Pixar film, you expect there to be a happy ending. But it's a question of how is this going to work out, rather than will it. Like, overall, while not the most interesting part of the film, Wade and Ember are solid, and it just helps build to a film that was absolutely worth seeing in theaters. If you want a dumb number score, let's just call it an 8 or 7.5. I liked it, and if Illumination made this, people would be hyping the hell out of it. But instead, it's Pixar, and people are instead going to call it mid for not living up to an impossibly high standard, with the bad marketing being the final nail in the coffin. But to me, the thing that has been screwing Pixar is that its brand is just way too strong. Every Pixar film, while different and special in their own unique way, they all neatly fit into the same box. They're Pixar, so you roughly know what you're gonna get before you even open it. So unless it's perfect, unless it's a masterpiece, I feel like there's no real incentive anymore for people to go see Pixar films in theater, especially when you can just watch it in streaming, and how COVID forced them to drop some of their better recent films on streaming just immediately. It's sad that we've gotten to this point, but it's true. Pixar has been telling a lot more personal and unique stories. I'm not one of those people who think that Pixar has fallen off, but I do think there is a general sense of fatigue for Pixar's style of storytelling and its animation, especially since there's just been so many new competitors that have popped up in the last couple years. Meanwhile, other studios are leaning into the Spider-Verse effect, making films that lean into stylization and creating a much more unique look. Elemental is a good film, one that I can't think of an area where they could improve on without just completely rewriting the thing. However, it's comfort food, and it is a very familiar flavor. If you like Pixar films, you should definitely check it out. And Disney did this film so dirty. The internet went overboard roasting it, killing interest even further, and just in general, this month was stacked with big films, making Elemental's fate just tragic to me. As unlike Lightyear, this film deserved better. Thank you all for watching. Tell me down in the comments what you all thought about Elemental, just based purely on the trailers. I want to know what your vibe was, as I just got apathy. Like, share, and subscribe. Help keep this channel going. Love you all. Peace out.